Hello, everybody. Welcome along. I'm going to very inventively call this the Benjamin Bloom Show now, but we are here to discuss all things football and plenty of stories today. We are live on YouTube and on Twitter, so do get involved in the comments. Let me know that you are here and you can hear me and see me by hitting the thumbs up button or saying hello in the chat. Plenty of good stuff to talk about today, as you can see up on the topics. Nigel Clough in talks with Birmingham. Dean Henderson maybe staying at Sheffield United beyond the end of the season. Stuff from Marcus Rashford, again, his general good blokeness. Troy Deeney's being outspoken. Again, there's stuff on Bambo Diaby. All sorts of stuff going on. Let's talk about Nigel Clough first of all. Clough has apparently held preliminary talks. Now, whether that's, we don't know exactly what that kind of stands to mean, but he's obviously spoken with the Birmingham owners in respect of replacing Pep Clotet, who is in that lovely dead man walking position that we've seen lots and lots. Never really work out well, but we'll see how Clotet goes. But he'll be leaving at the end of the season, and the speculation is now getting moving with Birmingham. Clough finished at Burton a few weeks ago. It all looked very amicable and very lovely. He was kind of stopping to save Burton some money and moving on to different things football-wise. Blues say they're in no rush to appoint a new successor. Oh, look, we've got a couple of Blues fans in here. John says, Clough talks rubbish, mate. Agent or media-driven? Definitely putting it out there. Noel says, no to Nigel. No, please. So that's Clough not appearing very popular with the Birmingham fans we've got in the chat here. Sky Sports are also reporting that Lee Bowyer is keen on the job. We didn't have a source for this, so again, a bit media driven. The 43-year-old, quote, would be interested in returning to his former club if the opportunity arises because of instability at the Valley. Let me know who you think. I've got to put that up from Jim. Blues making plans for Nigel. Mike says, not a Birmingham fan, but wouldn't want him. And Kian, who does have a Blues badge, says no to Nigel. So a unanimous custard pie for Nigel Clough. I think Nigel Clough's a decent manager. If you want someone experienced who's going to make generally a majority of correct decisions, but not necessarily do anything magnificently spectacular, that worked for Ipswich, wouldn't it? For the Ipswich owner. Then Clough could be your man. Little Crow says on Bowyer, wouldn't blame Bowyer for jumping ship. Yeah, basket case there. Remember, still links with lots and lots of people. Lee on Patreon asks, why do you think Birmingham have approached Clough? Well, I think because he's a safe pair of hands. CV not filled with promotion. Do you think it may be more to do with Warnock and Houghton not wanting the job? Again, they said that they're not in a massive rush to hire anybody, but it does seem the only solid link we've had so far. But yes, it could have been driven from Clough's camp. Just quick plug on here before we move to the next story. As I said yesterday, going to be in a bit of a different financial position and job position, going to be possibly out of work in September. So I'm really pushing the Patreon now, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. You can support the channel over on Patreon and you'll get ad-free videos there, queue jump privilege. You get to help a brother out as well, and going to be working on Patreon only content. So I'm going to be pushing that and I'm going to be mentioning that a lot. So if you do want to support the channel, you can do it monthly or you can do it as a one-off. Patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. 69 Cobsy says, read the headline and got excited thinking it was ITFC. I think someone else had said that as well. Let's talk about Dean Henderson. I know we've got a lot of Sheffield United subscribers left over from their glorious promotion run last season. It looks like Dean Henderson's definitely going to be staying United till the end of the season. That is the Blade, Sheffield United, not Manchester United. And I don't know if Chris Wilder's poking the bear here, but seems to be intimating it could be a bit longer. Remember, a couple of situations here at play. One is that if Manchester United really did want to put the cat amongst the pigeons, they could recall Dean Henderson because the season has gone past the natural loan dates and contract ends. Doesn't look like they're going to do it. And it looks like Manchester United in a position where they've got the best of both worlds here because they've got a very, very good goalkeeper in De Gea, obviously, and then a very, very good young guy who's getting loads of work, in the Premier League as well, really improving himself. So I guess at whatever point they either want to sell De Gea or move him on, or move on from him, so to speak, they can then just slide Dean Henderson back in there. That may not even be next year. Chris Wilder says, I spoke to Ole yesterday morning. Thank you for his cooperation. We're in the process in the next couple of days of finalising Dean staying with us to the end of the season. So that solves the first one. Remember, there's been a couple of interesting sort of loans. A lot of Leeds fans asked about Ben White, whether Brighton would, pinch him from literally under Leeds' noses for the last thing. On Henderson's future beyond the season, Wilder added, we've had initial conversations. Would be open to Dean coming back. I've got huge respect for Man United, and he's their player, and they'll make that decision with Dean. From our point of view, obviously, if there's an opportunity, we'd love to take that up. I can see it happening. I don't know David De Gea's contract situation, but whether Man United are ready to move on from him and put Henderson in, I'm not quite sure, and it would work out, I think, better if he does stay with the Blades for all parties. Jim says, if Blades qualify for Europe, he'll definitely stay another season. Lots of stuff from the Birmingham point of view. Mally says on the Clough link and the Bow link, it depend on Birmingham's ambitions to who they would appoint. Matthew says Birmingham should appoint Chris Hughton. He's been there before, has he not? John says the news from the club is Blues want experienced manager with promotion on their CV. Remember, Steve Bruce might be available. Mick McCarthy is available. Aitor Karanka is available indeed. Very quickly, if I can just hit this button here, which will put a nice thing across the bottom that says, please vote for me in the Football Content Awards for Best Creator Vlogger in the Best in Video category. It says closing date Saturday. That's actually wrong. Its closing date is on Thursday, but please go and vote. The Football Content Awards, do it before Saturday, do it before Thursday even. You just literally go onto the website, footballcontentawards.com. The first category, in fact, Best in Video, and just scroll down into the drop down and you'll see my name there. That would be grand. One from Ballymote. The lack of vision by championship owners has decimated lots of good clubs. Jim says Paul Heckingbottom available as well. I suppose does he have a promotion from League One? I guess he does. Quick one on contracts and running down. One more Premier League one, and then we'll move on to the Championship stuff. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, his contract is going to be up at the end of next season. Nothing's been agreed there at Arsenal. He says he hasn't had any offers recently. Did speak to the club a few months ago, and they know why nothing has happened yet. The ball is in their court. I'd be interested to know in the chat, what would be your view if you were Aubameyang? You're literally the golden boot holder, top scorer in the Premier League last season. A year left on your contract. You're banging in all those goals. Similar situation to Harry Kane, but you're not winning any trophies. Do you stay or do you go? A bit more on Birmingham here. Robert Mowbray, that's a good manager's name, isn't it? For me, Bowyer all day long. Harry agrees. Lee Bowyer would be good for Blues. I like Lee Bowyer. I've liked watching Charlton this season. Matthew, Mick McCarthy will find a job by New Year's end. I predicted that McCarthy give him the next 30 games and he will be there. Oliver, Bowyer, all he does is moan and moan. Not that good of a manager. Matt says, oh, sorry, that's animation. Birmingham should go for a young manager, e.g. a Gerhard Struber, considering the midfield players. They have a couple more on this. For me, Warnock for the Blues, roll of the dice, short-term project. Yeah, surely there's one more hurrah in it for Colin. Jim says, Bowyer's done a solid job at Chance, so his players are deserting him for the final games. Remember, we heard rumours of a possible U-turn from some of these players. Indeed. Moving on, flashed up at the bottom of the screen. Wednesday night, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, the return of the Premier League. We're going to try a new format. I will be on here live streaming for 15 minutes prior to kickoff. I'll be on during half-time, and I'll be doing my usual analysis. I'll do it live so we can take comments after the game. It will be like a normal Benjamin Bloom I've just witnessed video, but we're going to try and incorporate the new live stream things we've been doing during lockdown. So we'll see how that goes. If it goes well, we need a pithy name for it. We're thinking pre-match, half-time, full-time, or something of that nature. Dessert, main course, starters, whatever. But please tune in on Wednesday if you want to chop it up with me on here rather than listen to presumably Neville and Carragher. What do they know? Anyway, lots. I get it. Bambo Diaby. So we're on to the Championship now. Anyone who's watched Barnsley this year will know that he has been a bit of a cult hero for Barnsley. Scored a few goals. Remember, very, very leaky, but improvement under Struber. However, Diaby, doping allegation against him. He was suspended by the club for 5 months pending the outcome of the inquiry. Barnsley confirmed in January that Diaby was subject to a playing suspension for a potential anti-doping violation following media reports that he failed the drugs test last November. Barnsley Chief Exec Dane Murphy believes the Football Association is taking too long to complete an investigation. I suppose they've had less on their plate than the EFL and the Premier League, but it does seem to be dragging on a little bit. Murphy said, we're hoping it's concluded soon. It's been a frustrating process for those involved. The guy you feel worse for is Bambo because he's the most enthusiastic, positive guy you'd ever meet. He just wants the club to survive and be part of it. And he's been sidelined with no really strong evidence as to why it's taken so long. So let's find out what happens with Diaby indeed. Where was that question there from Bailey? If a player is caught doping, can the club receive penalties or just the player by the club? I'd imagine it's just the player, unless the club obviously play him or the old Rio Ferdinand situation. But again, that was really against the players, wasn't it? John says, Barnsley, the club that want everything done to stop them going down apart from actually playing. Barnsley have been quite outspoken, haven't they? They're really pushing on the FFP as well. Matthew's going to open up a can of worms here. Ben, do you think the players should be allowed to take the kneel if they want to? I think they should. Yeah, I don't have a problem with them doing it. I just don't want it to turn into what seems to have been happening a lot recently, where if one player doesn't do exactly as the people who are taking the knee are doing, that they're accused of all and sundry. We should all be able to support causes in exactly the way that we want to. These crowdies, dearie me. Mally says, Leeds have sold 15,000 crowdies. Good business by the club. How much do they cost? 20 quid each or something? Can go in our Leeds joke of Leeds would have took more. Well, even with cardboard boxes. Stephen Reed has been linked with the Bolton job. We were talking about the BAME issues. Comically, Harry pipes up, I don't like politics in football, as I mentioned politics there. Lovely bit of time in there, Harry. I tend to agree with you, but it's a bit unavoidable at the moment. 25 quid for a Leeds crowdie. Someone buy me a Benjamin Bloom one, please. We've got to get it done. Stephen Reed never worked as a manager, but has coached at a decent level, pro licence. on the staff at Palace, West Brom and Reading. And I just thought worth mentioning in a moment, because we talked about, was it 6 BAME managers? People seem to want more diversity in terms of skin tone and pigmentation. So maybe good news for the BAME news and the story that we ran with yesterday about those people. So good luck to Stephen Reid, and to be completely balanced, so I don't annoy anybody, good luck to any candidate, and may the best man get the job. But we hope that BAME people become represented over time. And maybe I'm not a fan of quotas, so let's hope Stephen Reid does a great interview and does really, really well for himself. Tim says, did you hack the Offsiders when you went on their stream? No, I didn't. I was invited by my friend Alex, but I think we were having a joke at someone's expense on their stream. They're about being a hacker. Wasn't the Barrow manager linked with Bolton as well? There's been a few linked. Keith Hill's done now, isn't he? So we'll see who they go for. John says, Clough is Bookie's favourite for the Bolton job. That'd be 2 divisions below Birmingham, so I know which one I'd rather have, but ho-hum, we'll see where Clough ends up. We need a Benjamin Bloom Crowdy in every ground, says Mike. Ollie doesn't agree because he says Crowdy's is a joke. It's laughable. Glad we are not doing it. Daniel asks, hi, I support Leeds. Who do you think Leeds will sign next season? John Kevin, Augustin and Helder Costa. And Ilian Meslier if they go up, but they're all guaranteed. I don't know. Otherwise, Marcus Rashford seems to be a very popular chap at the moment. He's been doing a lot of work with, I think, mainly around the Manchester area with meals for disadvantaged kids. So good news story football-wise there. Rashford has urged the UK government to reconsider its decision not to run the current food voucher scheme during the summer holidays. So this is to do with the free school meals type thing. The voucher was introduced in March to help low-income families feed their children when schools were closed. So normally the kids that would get the free school dinners, when they weren't at school, they still got sent a voucher. Rashford said, looking at ourselves in the mirror and feeling like we did everything we could to protect those who can't, for every reason or circumstance, protect themselves. Can we not all agree that no child should be going to bed hungry? It's and we add here free school meals, ordinarily term time only in the national voucher scheme, will not run during the school holidays. Harry says, good on Rashi. And where did Little Crow disappear to? There he is. For all the money, then send. Rashford's philanthropy is a welcome change. Yeah, seems a good sound lad. Rashford, I think everyone agrees we don't want to see kids going to bed hungry. Obviously, it's going to be a bit tricky now, particularly I have knowledge of the education sector, and people do need to understand that people have agreed deals to work in schools, and schools have budgets that last the entire year, and to open them up or keep blowing school budgets, that it's not just an infinite pot of money. Obviously, the government could extend it, couldn't they? I do appreciate Rashford's stance, and if there is a way to help, I would obviously endorse it. But I tend to come from most complex problems with the position that sympathy is good, but it's not always enough to solve the problem. And whilst I have sympathy, I do not know the numbers and the budgets and things to do this. So I do think it's good that someone like Marcus Rashford is a good role model for these young people as well. Dan says, also his story is great, coming from the working class background. John adds, pity the whole country has been set on destroying itself. Otherwise, Rashford's amazing work would get more coverage. And so it should indeed. Here's another fun one. Troy Deeney's been talking about gay and bisexual players. Remember, we spoke about distinct absence of, say, Indian players yesterday when we were talking about BAME people not being represented in the game. Deeney has been speaking to Louis Theroux no less, about gay and bisexual players, and there's an even bigger absence of them because there just isn't any. And I know Hitzelsberger, who used to play for Villa, is now, I don't like the term, but is now out as a gay man. But he didn't do that while he was playing. He probably didn't want the headache that he might likely get from fans. Deeney said to Luther, I can't believe we're talking about Luther on a football stream, there is now a bigger platform than ever, whilst several current top women players who are lesbian and bisexual are out. Again, not really a fan of that word, but that's the one they've used in the article here. There's yet to be high-profile gay or bi equivalent among their male counterparts. We get a strange rumour every few years, don't we, that this player is gay or this player is gay, and no player ever seems to come out. Statistically, let's say what Deeney says. I would go on record saying there's probably one gay or bi person in every football team. So they are there. They are 100% there. I don't know if he's speaking from knowing the truth there, and players just in solidarity sort of keeping it quiet, presumably so the player doesn't get a headache and there's not just a big circus around them. I think people that are gay or from the community definitely are very worried about having to shoulder responsibility. Being the first one, yes, I get that. I think once the first one comes out, again, his words, not mine, there would be loads. Let's see what people say about that. Richard says there are gay players in the game, Ben, just like everywhere else. They just cannot come out, which is a shame. They do not feel they can. Dan says, great words from Troy. I don't know how pro-gay the Tories are, but let's not get into that. One in every team. Deeney hasn't found the one. Nobody will kiss him back at Watford. Yes. Jaggy's words, not mine. Difficult one, isn't it? If you remember the horrible Justin Fashanu story, he came out as openly gay, and he was a black player as well. And obviously we know that ended very, very tragically. I'm not drawing a direct parallel, but we know how his life sort of turned out. Let's take Harry's point. A lot of fans would use it against them, even if they're not against being gay. Fans would use anything they can to intimidate the opposition. So I understand why they are scared. Yeah, I get it. I really get it. Jan Winger says Troy Deeney is making a lot of sense. It's tricky, isn't it? Because on the one hand, from a gay rights point of view, you want gay people to just be able to live their life and be comfortable, especially when you consider how many of us probably really love film actors and musicians who are openly gay, and they can live their lives as they please. Football is a bit different, and there is that kind of macho, hopefully not homophobic, but we'll find out. I do still hear some pretty rank chants, and we've been talking about racism the past few days. You'll hear a lot more homophobia at football than you will racism. Put it that way. So, Chris Zimmerman said some very pro-LGBTQ comments a few years back. That's the German Norwich defender. John says it's a pity. It's a topic of discussion. It shouldn't matter at all, really. I know. Yeah, again, like I was going to say, from a gay rights point of view, it would be great if someone would take that hit and they would become a hero. I know, literally, just for being themselves, they would become a hero to the gay community. But I do understand why they wouldn't need the headache. It's almost like we need 2 or 3 gay players to all, you have to announce your sexuality, but announce their sexuality at the same time, I guess, and take the heat off each other. But not that there should be, but we'll see what pans out. Surely, as we move forward and people become more and more tolerant of everything. I do take the point, I think, that Harry said that, we hear fans pop at players for anything, and sometimes it is light-hearted. If it's a ginger player, they get ribbed for having ginger hair. If it's a player with long hair, we hear comments, all sorts of stuff. Carl says Deeney's club has had a gay owner. To be fair, are we talking Elton John there? I guess we Richard said, football is tribal, Ben, so they'll get abuse from other fans, but many it's just to intimidate. Ref Keith Stroud hears homophobic abuse even when there is none. Less said about that, the better. I don't know what that story is indeed, but I'm sure a bit of reading and I'll find it. Jim says the media would jump all over a gay player as well. I'm honest, but yeah, I get all of these business. Nick says if you're a gay goalkeeper, you would get so much abuse from fans behind the goals. Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I knew the Justin Fashanu Foundation has been helping out with LGBTQ players in the Prem. Footballers won't come out, says Paul, because fans will turn a man into a mouse. Charles, he may be being sarcastic here, says gay rights will demand 2 lesbians, 2 gay men, 2 grannies, 2 trans. Yeah, that's the end of those diversity arguments that you have kind of 2 of everything. But Carl echoes probably what everybody says. No problem with gay footballer as they do the business on the pitch. That's true. Yeah. Anyone who's a brilliant footballer will, you know, we've seen with footballers doing terrible things that are against the law, not just you know, what you decide to do at home, which isn't in any way wrong and against the law, of course. But people are allowed to get away with anything if they do well on the football pitch, aren't they? And Matt says, can we just be nice to everyone? Yeah, that would be nice. Oliver says, missed yesterday thing, Cooper signing a new contract. Yeah, we spoke a bit about Jake Cooper yesterday signing a new contract with Millwall. Good stuff. Animation says, at least the Oxford United, the keepers only get abused for one half. Yeah, no stand behind the goal there. We get it. Right, let's do some questions and answers if there's anything come in the chat. Excuse me. This is on Keith Stroud's comment from Little Crow. Stopped a Millwall game after reportedly hearing homophobic abuse from the home fans was unable to be substantiated, but with their reputation it was jumped on by the press. I do think it's very, very important that these accusations need evidence, don't they? So I do agree with Little Crow if there's not evidence, and I don't want to get into the Kiko and Jonathan Lecco thing where evidence was decided just from one player against the other. It's so difficult, isn't it? So difficult. Let's go on to Bailey's comment. Did I see Diego's gesture of raising an Atletico women's kit of a player with cancer after scoring a goal? I did not, but that's Diego Costa, the old curmudgeon. Hey, a lot of fun to watch him kind of barge everybody about. But no, that sounds like a nice gesture. And I don't know who the Atletico player is, but obviously we wish them well. Nathaniel Klein, available on a 3. Which club should snap him up? Is he good? Is he still good, Nathaniel Klein? I've seen him play for years. Alison says, what the hell does it matter if footballers are gay? Bound to be some. Let's accept it. Yeah, we just need someone to lead the way, don't we, for the others. Question, when will Blad Bloom be happening? I don't know what that means. Bald Bloom, maybe? Never. Mike asks, will the transfer window open and close now? There's some idea that it won't close. The argument being that we don't want to restrain trade, and if clubs are really struggling for money, that they can't do business that would necessarily kind of keep them alive. So I suspect something might be done. If you had to pick a championship manager as a dark horse, says Bailey, candidate to be the best in the league, who would it be a dark horse candidate? Maybe Mark Bowen and Gary Rowett. They both surprised me this season, putting on really good runs when I hadn't expected them to do as well as they did. Do you think Leeds will put Kiko in goal for the match against Charlton and he helps to send them down? No, I don't think we'll see Kiko again. I think that will be Meslier. Sharif says, what do you make of the Lyle Taylor saga? if he makes a U-turn, I'll be amazingly surprised. But yeah, I'm behind the club in this one. I think Taylor should play at least until the end of his contract. It doesn't necessarily sit too well with me. Animation asks, do I listen to that Peter Crouch podcast? No, I don't. But if you recommend an episode, I will check it out. Do you think Scott Carson will stay in the Championship following his Man City loan? Scott Carson, one of those weird Man City, had Richard Wright there, didn't they? Where they need an English guy or a homegrown guy, I think, in the squad. Yeah, how old is Scott Carson now? Perhaps we'll see him back in the Championship. But it's a nice cushy gig off at Man City if you can get it, isn't it? Nick says you have gay referees and linesmen who don't come out too. Perhaps there are. We don't know. Who do you think will win on the Premier League return, says Fozzie. Looking forward to Villa Sheffield United. Check out my coverage of that. That's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? So I'll say no more and we'll talk in the preview on Wednesday. Noel says, are all television games free? Reason I ask, because Now TV is asking, $9.99 for Wednesday's fixtures. No, they're not all free. It's only a selection are, quote, free to air. So not all of them will be. Glenn says, fed up with this restart. I hope just open the bloody pub. Johnny, best young player in the Championship. I mean, the easy answer is Bellingham, isn't it? Let's go with Eze as well, who's fantastic. And I always mention him. Ben Rama's no age, is he? Dan says, no Wagamama has been open for a week. Have you managed to have one? Sadly, I have not. We did get something from the Portuguese takeaway around the corner, though. As discussed before, my lovely, beautiful missus is asthmatic. So we're trying to be about 2 weeks behind everything and just make sure everything's safe so she doesn't, bless her, have to take any kind of risk. Brandon Foster, who do you think will win on the Premier League return game? I dodged that question a minute ago, didn't I? Draw between Sheffield United and Villa or Sheffield United. I don't see Villa winning that. And Man City will beat Arsenal, won't they? We'll have a look. Lee Smith, where have you been? Social media is full to the brim of players showing off their latest straight coach, mate. Where are we going here? Mike? Oh, I've missed a few comments here. I'm trying to catch up here. Thoughts on Ovie Ejaria? Bailey says, I remember him absolutely tearing QPR up in the 2-2. I was there. He was excellent. And in that one game, I'm not saying Ejaria is better than Eze. He's not. But in that one game, it was really great to watch these two midfielders go up against each other. And Ejaria did come out on top. And if they get him for $3 million, that's a great deal. Mike, rumour Lyle Taylor to Rangers. That's a long one, that, isn't it? That's been going for a long, long time. If he wants the money, he might make more in the Championship. But if he wants the experience, yeah, go and play for Rangers in front of those crowds. Carl says, I'm being charged 50 quid from Stoke to stream the last 9 games. Really? Have you got a season ticket, Carl? Because a lot of clubs have done deals. And actually, I must say, I had a ticket for Derby versus Leeds, which was due, God, I don't know, 6-8 weeks ago or something. And they've given me a 110% credit. So I don't know what use the extra 10% is. They'll probably put the prices up 10% and it'll just be... but basically, I've got a free ticket for Derby next year for not asking for my money back. Brandon, do you think Sheffield United could sustain the Champions League and the Premier League? That'd be amazing if they got into it, wouldn't it? Harry asks, am I doing a watch-along for the Villa Sheffield United game? Let's post up my little thing here to advertise 3 live streams on Wednesday, 1 before the game, 1 at half-time, and a good review afterwards. We'll do some chatting in all of them, but a bit of a preview, bit of a half-time chit-chat as well. I won't be doing a full watch-along. The comments I've got back said that people like the detail I've managed to go into, and if I'm looking at comments and mumbling through all of it, I won't be able to give you as good an analysis at the final whistle. It's going to be a struggle enough watching from the TV as well. Carl has come back. Yeah, no refund, but can stream games for free or get a refund of 50 quid. Yeah, that seems quite standard. Harry says, do you think West Brom will survive if they get in the Prem? It depends if anyone else tanks. I struggle to see them being too great, really. Difficult one. They need Pereira and they probably need Diangana as well. Nick, I still have my Bristol Rovers Ipswich ticket. I've got mine. Do you know, I had two. Let me know if you got a refund on that. Great escape for Norwich. FA Cup win too, says Dan. As an Ipswich fan, I respect Norwich, but please can Norwich not win the FA Cup, just so Ipswich can have one thing over them, for goodness sake. But yeah, good luck to them if they do. Sharif says, love the new graphics on the stream. Thank you. We're second time using this. Hopefully everyone is enjoying them. Ross, favourite stadium in the Championship. You have to love going to, no offence to them, Griffin Park, Luton and QPR, just for the sheer character of all of them. I have to say, from my prawn sandwich point of view, I do like Derby. No bad seats in there. Leeds atmosphere, Forest atmosphere, Sheffield Wednesday atmosphere as well. Bailey, a Millwall atmosphere. He's surprised Leicester have managed to remain an actual top Premier League team after winning the league. They've been great this year. Yeah, I am a bit, to be honest. I think it says a little bit more about, say, the fall of Arsenal and Man United, though. But you've got to take advantage when you can. Kieran says, as a Leeds fan, I'm scared. Don't be scared, Kieran. You're the best team in the league, for goodness sake. We will do. We couldn't even beat Cardiff when we was 3-0. That was an outlier, wasn't it? Leeds would be fine. Millwall v Derby. I'm hopefully watching a win, says Oliver. Is that this weekend? Excuse me. Ridley says top 5 Championship stadiums. I think I just named them: Leeds, Forest, Hillsborough, and then those classic ones. Slaven Bilic for manager of the season so far. It's just hard when you're going against the behemoth that is Bielsa, isn't it? If he wins the league, he should get it, really, shouldn't he? But then it's parachute money against no parachute money, and presumably a much higher wage bill. Although Ferjani has given Bielsa a bit of a push. Noel says, QPR, more posts than Twitter. Yes. Do you know, I think the longest I've sat on the QPR website trying to find a seat that I'm not going to have the post in the way of the goal is probably like half an hour trying to do some, basic maths. But yeah, always fun to head there, isn't it? We'll be able to give an atmosphere in our new stadium. Talking Millwall's new stadium. There, will Bamford lead the line in the Prem? I think he'll start leading the line, but if he's not up to it, Bielsa will have him out. Best game of the Championship season so far. I'll have to go on ones that I've been. I loved Luton Middlesbrough, first game of the whole season. Probably my favourite. I did really like Leeds Hull as well, the 4-0, because Leeds were brilliant and it was a great watch. Oh, animations gazump me there. Birmingham v Leeds. What was that? 5-4 or something, wasn't it? Insanity. Absolute insanity. Let's scroll up on the comments. Keep them coming. Oh dear, how do I scroll up? Sorry, guys. And we'll click on Knowles and I'll move up. Sorry, Johnny says, which teams in the Championship think suffer from the fact that games are playing behind closed doors? Everyone's pointing at Millwall, aren't they, with the crowd? I think Luton as well. That's a hard place to go, and it'll be made easier with no fans in there. John says, Forest manager done better for me. Leeds and West Brom expected to be there. Yeah, West Brom expected to be there. I think Leeds are only expected to be there because of how well Bielsa's done since he's been there. Remember, they were 13th before he went there. Forest manager has done excellently. I absolutely agree. Hipster Sushi on Twitter. Am I British? Yes, indeed. From the fine town of Ipswich. Dan says, you've the league in the European Cup, UEFA Cup. God, imagine we'd won the European Cup. We would genuinely never shut up about that. Mike says, did I know Bielsa paid the 200 grand Spygate fund himself? Yes, I did. That's just the sort of crazy, loyal guy he is. That's an interesting point. Mally says, I'm interested to see how Bamford does with no crowd pressure. We'll see if crowd pressure actually affects him or not. So, Oliver says, Bilic has only spent 20-odd million, so he should be having a good team. Yeah, and already inheriting good players as well and high wages. People like Jake Livermore at this level is good. Carl says, better to watch Stoke than go shopping with the missus. You have to find the balance, Carl, don't you? You can't go to football every week else you'll be well and truly in the doghouse, won't you? Carl J says, I don't think any team has been a must-watch this year in the Championship, so awarding manager season going to be really hard. Yeah, I think we're going to have to be looking at the end of season table. Ridley says, was Derby Leeds the best playoff second leg you ever went to? I was at, obviously, Ipswich 5, Bolton 3 after 2-2 in the first leg and 4 years of losing in the semi-finals in the year 2000. That's the greatest game I've ever seen, and I doubt that will ever be beaten. Leeds derby was ridiculous and incredible. Though Bailey says, thoughts on Jordan Hugill? I think he's too slow on the ball and a bit of an oath at times. Gets the goals, though, doesn't he? I bet you if you stick Jordan Hugill in most Championship teams for over 40 games, he scores 15 goals. He just does, doesn't he? Richard says, Bielsa, the best manager for 2 seasons now, playing the best football with a mid-table squad that he inherited. I think as well what I like about Bielsa, not to labour the point, is look how people like Phillips, look at Dallas as well. Look how these players have improved and they're playing football that they've never played in their life. Jake says, how many points will the top 2 finish on? I'm not sure either will get 90, but it should be high 80s, shouldn't it? Unless someone goes on a tear for the end of the season, they might get towards that. Fabled 92 and 2 points per game. Charles says, players train with no crowds, so should really not make a difference to them. They also play behind closed doors often. Yeah, going to be interesting to see what effect that does have. £10 for Leeds not getting automatic promotion. I dare you, Ben. I'm not doing it. You want me to take your bet, or do you want me to place it? No, I think they're going to do it. Oliver says, from Mill point of view, Jed. Oh, and Ben Thompson back. Yeah, that will be a big welcome return. John says, wouldn't have Hugill over the Duke? And I agree with John, actually. Jutkiewicz has, if we're not calling Mitrovic a target man, which he isn't, Jutkiewicz has been an excellent target man in the Championship. Bielsa turns average players into world beaters. Very good manager. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I'm sure Calvin Phillips is going to thank him greatly when he signs his next massive contract. I know Phillips was already good, but Dan says, I'd say only one match I've seen in Germany has been affected by a crowd when Schalke were awful. I think they would have collapsed if the crowd was there. Interesting. Can work both ways. Noel says, watching QPR at Loftus Road is like watching Muse in the cheap seats. Can't see F all. I once watched AC/DC from the second back row of the O2, and I did still have these gigs now. They have massive screens and catwalks and everything, don't they? Oh, high praise indeed here. Big Melly says, Dallas is the current day Madeley. Now, if you're a Leeds fan, check out the video I did with David Diamond on, Norman Hunter. And then he forgot his name then, after Norman Hunter sadly died at the start of the lockdown. Paul Madeley comes up quite a lot, the kind of constant utility. Glenn will take your bet, whoever was posting it. Matt, I think. Paul says high-intensity teams like Leeds could struggle because they have to generate it without fans. We'll see. You'd imagine someone like Leeds would be so well drilled. I think other high-intensity teams, maybe with a bit less quality, will find it harder. Little Crow, Ryan Leonard for good or for bad. Ryan Leonard scored a perfect lob, didn't he, against Ipswich when Bielkowski made a complete mess of it. Little Crow says Richard Madeley. Absolutely not Paul Madeley. But yes. Little Crow says Dallas is the Championship James Milner. He's a bit this season, isn't he? And stupidly, when he plays left back, really, really good as well. Very, very, very good player. Dallas has been excellent. Eco says keep politics out of football. Not the first person to say that. What will the stream format be for Championship games? Matt, I'm going to try and do it sorry, Matthew, if you don't want me to call Matt. I'm going to try and do exactly the same. So we'll go before, middle, after. We'll see how it goes. We'll watch the numbers. If there are big calls for watch-alongs, then maybe we'll have a look at it. But I want to give the entertainment side. I want to give the interaction, but I do want to give the hopefully high-quality reviews. Ridley says, I disagree with Paul. I think the better footballing sides will do well. It's the hoof and hope teams I worry for. You're talking about Cardiff there, Ridley. Certainly they were very direct under Neil Warnock, but they got promoted. Leeds don't need fans to generate intensity, says Mally. Could work out in our favour. John says, wrong one, sorry. Home teams will find it hard all over the division. They have been finding it hard, haven't they? Ben, why haven't you played stadiums music? I mean, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe I wouldn't be sitting here streaming if I'd had all that success. Eco, like the new icon, top right. There we go. A very adventurous name, the Benjamin Bloom Show column. Says the lockdown came at exactly the wrong time for Leeds. They were at a tear, weren't they? He says can't see them messing up though. Leeds were looking really, really good. Gabriel asks, who do I think will win the League Two and League One plus? Gabriel, I struggle with League Two. I haven't been all over it this season. But from a kind of selfish point of view, Northampton's close that way, so maybe I'd like to see them. And Colchester back in the same league as Ipswich, maybe. League One, I'm not going to make a prediction, but the best 2 out of the 4 teams I've seen have been Oxford and Fleetwood. So maybe Oxford, Fleetwood in the final. Matthew says Warnock at Birmingham would be unstoppable. You're only going to get him for a year, though, I think. Oh, my goodness me. We have a wonderful donation here from Robin. Wraith Rovers FC donation, $12. Thank you so much, Robin. That's really, really kind. As I've said a couple of times, my job is likely not going to exist in September. I would love to try and make money out of doing this. I love your donations. I get a bit of ad revenue from YouTube, and we're pushing the Patreon, but donations like that from Robin are massively helpful. You just have to hit that dollar button. So Robin, thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. Where are you messaging from, Robin, with it being dollars, or does it do them more? I'm pretty sure it doesn't do them in dollars, but very, very kind too. Mike, Bielsa has the squad doing 2 murder ball sessions a week. Those sessions are crazy. Yeah, there's a reason why Leeds are so good in tight spaces. Dan says Colchester would be interesting. 3 East Anglia sides in the same league, almost a mini league. I find it really weird as well, Dan. I live in Bedfordshire now, and apparently that's East Anglia as well. Although you have to be out on the East Coast, for me to class it as East Anglia. Robin, watching from Australia, $12 Australian dollars. Thank you so much. Very, very kind indeed. Those Aussie dollars. Right, unless there are any more questions, what have I got to plug? I've got to say thank you first and foremost to everybody. I'll take a couple more questions. Wednesday night, Villa and Sheffield United. If there's news tomorrow, we'll talk again tomorrow. Patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Get involved over there if you want to support the channel, and get ad-free. I'll post this ad-free afterwards. Now we'll be doing some Patreon-only videos. YouTube, obviously, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Instagram, just type Benjamin Bloom. Indeed. Let's have a look at a couple more of these questions here. Matthew says, when will Paul Lambert get the boot? In all seriousness, Matthew, if he's not anywhere near the top 6 by November, December, I think he will be fired by Ipswich. It's going to be untenable. But I can see him there for a while. Justin Bow is going to be announced as Birmingham new boss. If anyone's got anything substantiated on that, let me know, because that would be huge news. Just a tenuous link at the moment. Eco says, following the dream. Yeah, would be great. I don't need to make a fortune out of this. If I could just do it as part, and work around it, that would be great. Just fun to talk about football, isn't it? Do you think the Premier League would be more interesting with Forest, Leeds and Derby? Yeah, honestly, it would. No offence to the clubs in it, but they're all great clubs, aren't they? Forest, Leeds and Derby, all English champions, and all, well, not Derby. Derby didn't win European trophy, did they? But certainly Forest and Leeds, European names there. If Bamford is struggling, he will get a dig out from his relatives, the JCB. Robin says, do we know the Norwich COVID case? I'm still not sure. They're being tight-lipped about it. I guess we'll know on Friday if one of their top players isn't in the team. But we will find out. Noel says, try and work out a Brummy Joe stream for Blues Feast Baggers. Yeah, give Brummy Joe a shout. I'd love to work with him. Great YouTuber who will go down the season. Difficult, but can I have just one 3-game week, and then I'll give some thoughts from that. Gabrielle asks about Lyle Taylor. We talked a lot about him. Not overly comfortable with it. The U-turn would be incredible if that comes. Lee, thoughts on the MLS tournament and then using group game results as a basis to get into the regular season? I'd need to read up on that, Lee, so I can't really comment. But is it an NFL style thing with playoffs? Not entirely sure. Colin says Tyler Roberts is supposed to be on fire in training. Tyler Roberts was on fire at Hull when I last saw him play. Came on and scored 2 goals. But remember the rules. Bielsa loves Bamford. Remember the rules. Oliver says Millwall and Leeds in the Prem. I can see the police's face. Hey, I can see Sky TV's faces. If Leeds get up to the Prem, they'll absolutely love it, won't they? Ridley asks about Florian Josefzoon. What do I think? I think he was a little bit overpriced from Brentford. I guess there's a reason why maybe Lampard and Cocu have both left him on the bench. He always looks kind of at it when I see him come on as a sub, but I always go with that logic. I know it's a cliche, but the manager sees the players train every day. Matthew says, thoughts on Bowen at West Ham? I haven't been following. I wish him the best of luck because he's been an absolute joy in the Championship, Jared Bowen. So I hope he can go and make a great living in the Premier League because his Championship work certainly deserves it. Noel says he'll contact Brummy Joe for him. There we go. I think Brummy Joe might be in the category. Is he possibly for one of those awards? Yeah, don't quote me on that. But right, thank you everybody for watching again. Let's put these little plugs up. First of all, please vote for me. Football Content Awards, Best Creative Vlogger in the Best in Video category. That's wrong. That's my mistake. It says closing date Saturday. Closing date's on Thursday. I'm wrong about that. And on Wednesday, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. 3 streams. Bang, bang, bang. And we should be doing this for Norwich Southampton on Friday. And then the Championship, it will be Fulham and Brentford. Must answer Mike there. Asked about the next Reeve and Bloom. I will WhatsApp Jack after we have done. Animation says, who's the favourite in the Football Content Awards? That Togden lad has got like 1 billion subscribers. So no doubt he's a favourite. Cole, no doubt, taking the mickey out of me, he says, hit that thumbs up button, which I haven't said for a while. Right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I really, really appreciate your support. As I've said, I'm trying to transition now into making this more than a hobby. So if you want to, and we had 3 sign-ups yesterday, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom really, really would help me out in the interim. And the more Patreons I get that side, the more I can then put some individual content on there, but we'll still be here for free on YouTube as long as I am doing this. Thank you for watching. See you all soon.